we're in Machshirin, Perek Dalid, Mishnah Yud, 10th and last Mishnah in the 4th chapter of Masechet Machshirin. So we're going to have a case of eitzim. Eitzim means wood, literally. It means kindling wood. And one of the things they would do, wood was incredibly valuable. You needed it to cook. So apparently they would soak it. I guess if you got a good fire going, you use soaked wood that would last longer. So the Mishnah says, eitzim, branches or wood, shenaflu aleim mashkim. So in this case, water fell on the mashkim fell on them. Now I guess sometimes they would soak, sometimes they wouldn't soak. It got wet, it didn't get wet. But remember, you had a cheres, you had an earthenware oven, and the earthenware oven, if it became tameh, you had to destroy it. So they would probably be pretty careful about whether it became tameh or not. So in this case, we're going to go like a Bar Tanura's explanation of this Mishnah. So you have this wood, shenaflu aleim mashkim here is mashkim tmeim. So now the wood is tameh. So the problem is, if you put the wood tameh, the tameh wood, while it's still tameh, when it's wet in the oven, you got problems. So what happens? So if the Mishnah says, eitzim shenaflu aleim mashkim, if tameh water fell on your wood, then v'yardu aleihem gishamim, and then rain fell on them. Im rabu torim. If the rainwater overwhelmed, if it was a majority, okay, if it overwhelmed the liquid that fell on the tameh liquid, then the wood becomes tahor. Why? Bitlum v'tiyar. But it made it batel and negated the water that's tahor. Hotziam sheyardu aleihem gishamim. If you took them out, meaning so that water would fall on them, meaning they're wet, and then you take them out in the rain. Afal pishe rabu tmeim. So if while they're already wet, then you took them out, even though the water overwhelms them, they are tameh. Why? The achshavinu, the Bar Tanura says, the achshavinu gshamim. He said now you want the water is important, the rainwater, you want it to come on. Since you want the rain to come on, then it doesn't overwhelm, it joins, okay? And then why? Because every time, since the water inside the wood, the kindling wood is important to you, therefore, when you add more rainwater, that just becomes tameh. That's one way of reading this. Other mefarshim say, what does that have to do with tameh or not tameh? It's talking about hachshava lekabel tuma. You can look at the kahati to see the other explanation. Bal'u mashkim tmeim. Let's say your wood, balivloa means to absorb. It absorbs tameh liquid. Afapisho tziam. Shiardu aleim kshamim. Even if you took them to take out, so that you should take out, you took them out in order for rain to fall on them, tahorim. In this case, it's tahor. The wood is tahor. Why? Because here the Bar Tanura says, what's the case of balu? It absorbed it inside, dry on the outside. Look at the Bar Tanura. He says, it's dry on the outside. Inside, it's still wet. It's still absorbed on the inside. Even though you took them out in order for rain to fall on them, we said the rain is important to you. And before we said the rain, that water then became tameh, and the whole thing was tameh. Nonetheless, still tahor here. The lo nagu b'mashkim tmeim, because the rainwater didn't touch. Remember, it was dry on the outside, so it didn't touch tameh liquid sharei balu because it was absorbed. So therefore, afabisho ziu yardim kshamim tarim, they're tahor. Below yisikem, lasik means to kindle them. You shouldn't put them in the fire. Ela biyadayim tehorot bilvad. You have to make sure you have yadayim tehorot. Okay, so that your hand. So because otherwise, remember, it's now wet with. It's hard to say that. Wet with rainwater. Say that 10 times fast. It's wet with rainwater. Okay, so if your hands are tameh, it'll make the wood tameh. Says the Bar Tanura. You took it out for the rain. So therefore, if your hands are not clean, you'll touch the wood, and then that rainwater make the tanur, your oven, tameh, the mashke tameh kli, because the mashke liquid makes the kli tameh. But if your hands are tahor, you're all good. Rabbi Shimon Omer Shimon says, im hayu lachin v'hisikam, if they're wet and you burn them, you kindle them. V'rabu mashkim hayotzim mehem al mashkim shebalu teorim. So he says, listen, and the liquid sheyotzim that emerges from them overwhelms it. It is the majority over the liquid that balu that it was absorbed. Then they're tahor. So B'Shimon says, you ever burn a piece of wood? So you see it starts to bubble. It starts to, the water, the liquid starts to steam up. So B'Shimon says there's two kinds of, if there's wood that's wet, and wood that's balu, right, that absorbed. So if it absorbed tameh liquid, But nonetheless, the liquid that's already inside, the moisture inside the wood is more than the liquid that it absorbed, then it's tahor. I have no idea how one would go about measuring such a thing. We'll stop here. Dedicate our learning to my father, Reb Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Make it a great day.